There was a push to get the economy going because the outbreak has wrecked the economy. Nearly 4 million more Americans filed for unemployment last week. That makes a total of 30 million people who have filed since the crisis began. 30 million. And that does not include people who've tried unsuccessfully to apply for benefits. The economic collapse is hitting some neighborhoods harder than others. Jason Miles has more on what a new study reveals.
Another Thursday, and
we've come to expect disheartening updates every Thursday.
An additional 3.8 million Americans filed for unemployment claims.
The 6-week total amid the COVID-19 crisis now hovers around 30 million Americans.
That is roughly the population of Texas.
In Harris County, neighborhoods like the Five Corners district of South Houston are among the hardest hit. That's according to this new study by Rice University's Kinder Institute for Urban Research, which pinpointed the most affected areas.
This is about neighborhoods where people live and who is losing jobs in neighborhoods where people live.
Institute Director Bill Fulton says data shows that nearly 9% of workers who live in Five Corners may have recently suffered a job loss. Many of them work in sectors significantly impacted by the downturn, like restaurants and hotels.
These people are sort of economically vulnerable to begin with. They live from paycheck to paycheck. They're going to have trouble paying their rent. They're going to have trouble making car payments if they have car payments.
Other neighborhoods hard hit by COVID-19 related unemployment include Aldine, Greenspoint, Gulfton, and Sharpstown.
Because there's so many of us out there.
Laid-off worker Martha Grimm is looking for a job while awaiting jobless benefits.
I'm 61 and I'm not getting anything, and I live in an apartment, and it's just really frustrating because there's no cash coming in.
We've heard about the unequal toll COVID-19 has taken on certain populations when it comes to their health. Fulton says the study reveals the economic impact may be unequal as well.
And that neighborhoods that are already at risk, the people who live in those neighborhoods are losing income rapidly.
In Houston, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.